I am very excited to be sharing with you guys a new adventure I have planned in just 2.5 weeks. I will be hiking my first section of the Appalachian Trail through the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Now, this trail is something that's been on my radar for quite some time, but ultimately, this is going to help me get prepared for my 500-mile through hike of the Colorado Trail in just about 2 months. The reason I'm doing this trip about a month out from my Colorado Trail trip is if gear doesn't work the way I want it to, or I need to make an upgrade or buy a new piece of gear, I want to give myself time to make those switches. So having about a month will be plenty of time to make any switches in gear or purchase any upgrades that if I think I need it for a week, I'm certainly going to need it for a month. I've been to the Smokies several times before, but this will be the longest trip I've ever taken as I will be spending 5 days and 4 nights hiking the 75 miles hovering the Tennessee and North Carolina border through the Smoky Mountains. There were really two main reasons why I want to do this trip before Colorado. The first is I've been purchasing a lot of new gear. I've spent a lot of time and money in gear that is an upgrade from what I have, but also my biggest consideration is weight.
Tent is extremely light, and as I keep taking off more and more packaging, it keeps getting lighter and lighter. That's crazy.
So it's important for me to test out this gear for 5 days, 4 nights before I bring it out on the Colorado Trail and spend a month with it. If something is going to break down or not function the way I want it to, I want it to happen over a 4 or 5 day trip and not when I feel like I'm kind of stuck out there for 30 days. I have some gear that has gotten me through some frigid weather. Even this year, there are 3 camping trips alone that I have been sleeping below freezing temperatures and I've been warm every night.
Oh, my sweet, sweet, heavenly sleeping bag.
Usually gear that keeps you that warm comes at a price, and that price comes as weight. So a lot of my purchases are designed to lighten up my pack, lighten up my base weight, and so I'm pretty excited to be packing this for the first time with a new tent, which I did a unboxing and review on the Gossamer Gear The One, which is the tent I ultimately chose for this trip and my next trip. And I also very recently purchased a new pre-loved sleeping bag, and I will be posting a video about my unboxing and kind of initial thoughts of that as well. But instantly after making these 2 purchases, my bag felt like a feather. It's amazing how dropping 4 or 5 pounds can really improve your stamina. It's going to give me more energy to hike and go further, hike more miles. And not that I'm trying to rush the trail, but I have a kind of a tight window where I need to get this done, so I want to stay on pace. And the second reason I consider this to be my training trip is I'm going to be challenged physically and mentally. I love backpacking and no one is making me go on these trips, but sometimes I need to remind people when they get all excited, this is far from an all-inclusive beach vacation. Backpacking can be grueling. There's going to be a lot of times where I already know I'm probably going to be hungry, thirsty, cold, wet, and tired.
Oh, it feels so good. When I hit level land, I feel like my whole body just goes, ah. But we're gonna go uphill again.
But for people like me, there's something about putting yourself in that environment, getting out of your comfort zone that is kind of the fun in it. Pushing myself and putting myself through these tests and uncomfortable situations is ultimately what leads to the big satisfaction and accomplishment of backpacking for me. That is where the adventure and the fun of backpacking has really gripped me in this past 1.5 years that I've been doing this. When I've been to the Smokies before, I've easily pushed 20-mile days, but what's a little bit new for me this time is doing consecutive 20-mile days. 20 miles a day is the pace that I'm hoping to keep on the Colorado Trail, and this will be a really good test to see how I do doing 3 days of 20 miles in a row and just see how my body holds up. I haven't had any foot issues in the past, but I am considering switching to a lightweight trail running type shoe as opposed to the boots that I normally wear. I'm usually not bothered by the weight, but in the Smokies, there are a lot of river and water crossings, and it is a pain to stop every time I see water, take off my boot, cross, put it back on, dry up, and if I walk through the water in my boots, they take a very long time to dry. So the idea is to find a shoe that is lightweight and will dry really easily so that I can just blow through the water, keep my pace, and not worry about the on-off situation that I've been doing so far. Another unique aspect of packing for this trip is making sure that I have enough food to cover me for all 5 days. I won't be resupplying when going through the trail, and in Colorado, I was kind of planning out my resupply towns, and on average I'll be going about 5 days between towns. So this is the perfect chance for me to feel what it's like to pack 5 days of food, see if it's enough, not enough, if I needed more, if I brought too much. It's going to help me gauge how much food I should be bringing and resupplying with when I'm in Colorado. So let's take a look at the itinerary. Day one is going to be kind of an easy day. I'll be driving about 3.5, 4 hours from where I live to Fontana Dam. Now, that is where the Appalachian Trail enters the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And so for the first day, I'll be hiking about 9 miles into the first shelter I'll be staying in the park, and that's Molly's Ridge Shelter. Now, I figured the first day being a little bit shorter made sense because by the time I drive to the park, find parking, maybe even have to find accommodations to get to the trail, the last thing I wanted was to be rolling into camp really late at night on night one. So just 9 mile warm up for day one. Now for day two, we'll be waking up early and hiking 20 miles to Double Springs Gap. Day three looks very similar, waking up early, hiking 20 miles to Peck's Corner Shelter, where we'll be camping for our third night. And a final 20-mile day will take us to Davenport Gap, which is in the northeast corner of the park, which is ultimately the end of the Appalachian Trail through the Smokies. On day five, we'll wake up and hike just a few miles to get outside of the park, where we'll meet our ride at a pretty convenient pickup location and end up getting back to our car. Soon I will be posting a video of my pack list and everything that I plan on bringing to the Smokies, which hopefully is going to be the same pack that I bring to Colorado. I'm excited to show off some new pieces of gear and also show you guys some old favorites that I would never hit the trail without. And I will keep you updated for my first section hike of the Appalachian Trail.